Hey everyone, welcome back to In the Alley. My name is Cody, and glad you guys are back for another video. This is coming out late, but we still have a couple hours until kickoff, so without further ado, week 14, let's dive in. Alright, so we're going to pick and choose. We got 5 previews to do. We're going to start off with a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. If you haven't subscribed at this point, there's probably no use in subscribing until the playoffs where you're going to have to pay extra. So anyway, we're going to have a 7-4 Tulsa Oiler team heading up to Massachusetts to take on a 5-5 Massachusetts Pirates team that they're looking pretty good right now. And if Massachusetts can win this game, which we'll talk about that in a minute. But if they can win this game, that's really going to put some pressure on some of those teams in the lower seeds in the playoff push. Let's take a look at our season leaders first, though. TJ Edwards, 139 of 222, 1,345 yards passing, 36 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Kenji Bahar, 130 of 217, so roughly the same amount of completions to attempts for both sides, 1,282 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Edwards is your leading rusher, 148 carries, 560 yards, 24 touchdowns. So he's got, 60 total touchdowns? It's pretty good. Puka Williams, 119 carries, 496 yards, and 9 touchdowns on the ground for him. And then leading receivers, Cole Blackman, 29 catches, 338 yards, and 13 touchdowns. And T.O. Redding, 30 catches, 366 yards, 6 touchdowns through the air. Taking a look at our injury report, nothing new really to report for Tulsa. They've got some help. We'll talk about that on the 25-man roster. And as for Massachusetts, Tyon Evans, the new running back that they had just signed and played last week, he is now on short-term injured reserve. That's still kind of a big, injury unit there for Massachusetts. We'll see if anyone kind of makes their way out of it. The rosters have just recently been updated, so hopefully everything is about as accurate as you can be. In this game, I think so. In the other games, we'll have to talk about it. But anyway, we have a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Our over-under for our game odds, ignore the 50.5. That's me with placeholder numbers. It's actually 76.5 with a +2.5 favoring, or a +2.5 underdog for Massachusetts at home. -135 if you want to choose Tulsa on the money line, and +114 for Massachusetts if you want the home underdog. We were in Lowell, Massachusetts at the Tsongas Center, with our head-to-head being 3-1 in favor of Massachusetts. However, the last meeting, Week 19, these two teams have not played this season. Week 19 of last year, Tulsa did get the victory 44-25. So, chance for Tulsa to almost even up the series, a chance for Massachusetts to kind of run away with it. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction, 4 more previews after this. Alright, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first. Quarterbacks for Tulsa, TJ Edwards and Hassan Rogers. Running back is Martez Carter. Your wide receivers, they get a little bit of help back. Max Novak, Jerminic Smith, Sheldon Augustine is off of short-term injured reserve, Joshua Crockett, Cole Blackman, and Faison McClurge is back from the UFL. So that's a really, really good stable of wide receivers you have right there. And just a week or two ago, we were talking about the lack of depth that they had at the skill positions. They don't have that anymore. Your offensive line, Tariq Stewart, Zach Branner, Bryant Nolan Jr., Kerry Reynolds, and Anthony Kennedy. Defensive line, Ulrich Jones, Jacarius Smith, Trey Smalls, and Rashawn Williams. And the linebackers, Dylan Petway, Trey Harvey, Marquez Bembry. And in the secondary, Taylor Hawkins, Ryan Dixon, Cedarius Doss, Kentrell Pierce, with your kicker being Rio Ramirez. Over to the Massachusetts side, Kenji Bahar and Felix Harper are your quarterbacks. Bahar going to be your starter, Harper your backup. Puka Williams your running back. Wide receivers, Javon Tucker, T.O. Redding, Stephen McBride, Thomas Owens, and Isaac Zico. Offensive line includes Jordan McCray, Caleb Chandler, Navon Donaldson, and Dante Lucas. On the defensive side of the ball, Jacques Bristol, Guy Thomas, Mike Mason, DJ Dale, Terry Beckner Jr. In the linebacker position is Marquise Waters. And in the secondary, DJ Daniel, Teldrick Ross, Matt Elam, Smoke Monday, Marquise Floyd, Ty Smith, with your kicker for Massachusetts being Josh Gable. That is your 25-man roster for Tulsa, your 25-man roster for Massachusetts. And with that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, dive a little bit deeper into this game, and figure out where we stand. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. -2.5 for Tulsa. mainly due to the fact of the wide receivers that they do get back. That is a lot of firepower. However, there is only one ball to go around, and we'll see how that goes. And I'm not expecting it to be like a gimme thing or someone to be pissed off, but there are a lot of wide receivers, Hassan Rogers included, and we'll see how it goes with that skill position. But I do think with what they have, it's a little bit better than what Massachusetts has, and we'll wonder what Massachusetts does in the running game. Puka Williams did not play in their last one, and they've gone through, whether it's been Dominic Roberto or Tyon Evans or whoever. Puka Williams has come in, and he has been the pretty much day one starter, but there have been times where he has not played. So we'll see how that one goes. We'll see how Massachusetts runs through him. The wide receiver stable for Massachusetts is good. They are good, and I like to see Teo Redding and Thomas Owens kind of having a little bit of a renaissance so far this season. Thomas Owens especially. Teo Redding is really starting to get going as well. Kind of a slow start for him. Isaac Zico, need to see him a little bit more as well. On the defensive side of the ball, Tulsa's defense has just been very, very good, and adding Ulrich Jones and what he was able to accomplish last week has been pretty detrimental to how that defensive line has gone. The pickups that they have signed on that defensive line have been pretty good, whether it's been him or Rashawn Williams. For Massachusetts, they do get Smoke Monday in. We'll see how that affects the secondary. I don't know if this is going to be super, super defensive. This could be your standard scoring IFL game. I'm picking -2.5 here for Tulsa. My prediction for this, 42-35 in favor of the Oilers. I think they just have a little bit more firepower. I know Massachusetts has been somewhat good at home. I get that, but there is just something about Tulsa right now where they are battling for that one seed or pretty close to it. I know Massachusetts needs this one to really. I mean, again, Massachusetts can go 6-5 and knock Tulsa to 7-5 and be half a game back when it comes to the standings. Conference win percentage notwithstanding, but all things considered, if Massachusetts does pull the upset here and be a home dog, there is an opportunity for that 3rd and 4th seed in that East to get maybe a little bit more murky than some would like. But I do not see that happening. I think Tulsa, with their firepower on the wide receiving core, can get it done here. So -2.5, 42-35. I think Tulsa takes it. Let's go take a look at our second preview. All right, preview number 2. When we talk about Saturday, we have another 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. Stream all the games, whatever. Green Bay Blizzard, 8-3, going on the road, where they have not been nearly as good as they have been at home, but still a 500 record on the road, not bad. Fisher's Freight, 2-9, 1-4 at home, hoping to play spoiler. Their dreams of the playoffs are pretty much dashed. But overall, this should be a very fun one. Season leaders, Max Myler, 144 of 237, 1,673 yards, 39 touchdowns and 6 picks. Carlos Davis, 43 of 72, 402 yards, 4 touchdowns to 3 picks. So that ratio is a little off right there. Myler's your leading rusher, 84 carries, 469 yards, and 17 rushing touchdowns. Shane Simpson, your leading rusher, 67 receptions, 215 yards, 9 touchdowns. And in the receiving category, TJ Davis, 33 receptions, 439 yards, 11 receiving touchdowns. And JT Stokes, 30 catches, 326 yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. To the injury report, nothing really new to report on the Green Bay side. They have a couple changes, but not anything really major except, I guess Harry Ballard, but we'll talk about that in the 25-man roster. For Fishers, there is an update. I pulled the rosters and everything at like 10 a.m. and stuff got updated. Keegan Shoemaker is out, so he is released. He is gone. And then you're adding Jaron McGaw, the wide receiver, to the short-term injured reserve list. So just pretend he's there at the bottom, and we'll talk about that in the 25-man roster as well. Over-under of 90.5, and Fishers, the home underdog by a lot, plus 13.5 for them, so minus 13.5 for Green Bay, minus 470 in favor of the Blizzard if you want to take that straight up, or plus 360 if you're feeling a little frisky and want to see an upset for Fishers at home. Speaking of home, we are in the Fishers Event Center in Fishers, Indiana, with a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, and our series head-to-head, 1-0. They met earlier this year, just a couple weeks ago. Green Bay taking it 55-39 in week 11. So with that, let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, bet and prediction. We got 3 more previews to go after this. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first, TJ Davis and Max Myler at the quarterback position. They have listed TJ Davis and Jazarick Peterson on the Green Bay website as athletes, but I'm lazy. I don't feel like doing that, so they'll stick at their respective positions until I feel like it, I guess. But Max Myler, your starting quarterback. Davis will drop into your wide receiver position as he normally does. Jalen Cagle is your running back, and in the wide receivers, Andre Williams, Zane Lewis coming off of short-term injured reserve, Lowell Patron, Harry Ballard has been released, Jazarick Peterson rounding out that wide receiving core. So those 4 guys and Jalen Cagle at the skill positions along with TJ Davis. Offensive line, Devin Johnson, Jake Parks, Roderick Williams coming off of short-term injured reserve, Kadir Counta, and Andrew Carter, if I can speak correctly. Defensively for the Blizzard, Devin Rice, Rafiq Abdul-Wahid, Tremont Lofton, Allen Henry, and Sean Mustin rounding it out. Your linebackers, Andre White and Jalen Johnson. And in the secondary, Nigel Canada, Mamadou Mbai, Kevin Ransom II, Cale Jackson Jr., and Naeem Alexander, with your kicker being Andrew Mevis. Over to the Fishers side of things, Carlos Davis, your quarterback. Vincent Espinoza has been signed. He's been in the Indoor Football League a little bit. He's been in the AF1. I don't know if he's been in the NAL. I think he's in the CIF when that still existed. He's been around. Arena indoor football veteran. He knows the game inside and out. Running backs, and this is where it gets a little fishy for me. No pun intended, I guess. Shane Simpson, Dominic Roberto, and on the team website, they had John Gay listed, but they did release him at one point, and I didn't see anything updating that he had been signed, but I put him here just because he was on the team website. It might have been a typo. Wide receivers, JT Stokes, Isaiah Cox, Journey Sloan getting signed over from San Diego. Julian Walker has switched from quarterback to wide receiver. And then, like I mentioned, Jaron McGaw is on short-term injured reserve, so he shouldn't be here, but I'm too lazy to update my Photoshop and Illustrator files. So there you go. Offensive line, AJ Forbes, LaQuinston Sharp, Daryl Simmons, Jatarius Spivey, Jeremy Cooper, Darius Long. And then on the defensive side, Christopher Oakley, Jalen Swan, and Akeem Smith for that defensive line, but I think Darius Long will switch over to that defensive line. Linebackers, Cam Hunt, Tamar Hart. We'll see if Cam Hunt drops into the secondary. And then Sean Steele, Aaron Jackson, Jaden Rowe, Justin Terry, and Justice King rounding that out, with Callum Sutherland being your kicker. That is your 25-man roster for Green Bay, your 25-man roster for Fishers. With that, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, and we move on with the rest of our previews. All right, so bet and prediction for this one, minus 13.5 for Green Bay. Main reason, one team has been on a tear, the other team hasn't. Green Bay has been putting up points like crazy. They are the best offense in the league. Fishers, okay, they're Fishers. They are Fishers. What can you really say? Like I said, this team has not found its identity. I've mentioned that before. I've mentioned that with a couple of other teams too. What is a team's identity? I harped on it last year with Iowa. I've harped on it this year with Iowa, and that's not stray bullets at them, but it's to correlate with this. What is Fisher's identity? In the very beginning, they were a power running team. They were running all over like crazy. Now they've kind of balanced things out. It still hasn't gone nearly as well as you would like. And I think bringing in Journey Sloan, bringing in Vincent Espinoza, you're starting to say, hey, can we start being more of a passing style team? And that's no knock on Carlos Davis either. He runs the ball very well. I don't know who's going to start the game, to be honest, whether it is Espinoza, whether it is Carlos Davis, but Espinoza being around the league for quite a while, coming over from AF1, I believe he was in. I don't think he was either in AF1 or NAL, and AF1, it's just like the AFL, you just one man in motion, throw it. So maybe that alludes to them being more of a passing style team. I'm not sure. So with that, there's just more offensive identity to figure out. Green Bay, very good defense, very good offense. They can easily snuff that out. I've got a minus 13.5. My prediction for this one, 56-35. I don't even know if it's that close, man. Like, Green Bay is going to do what they do. Max Myler has been on a tear. I think he deserves a lot of MVP recognition. I think that offense just deserves a lot of MVP recognition, dare I say. But yeah, I think Green Bay is going to take this one pretty handily. I think there could be some garbage time touchdowns, which makes that score 56-35 look a little bit more respectable. But overall, I think Green Bay just kind of takes it because I just do not know what Fisher's is. Now, with that, the defense has been, for Fisher's at least, has been pretty good here and there. But going up against a team like this, how they played in the last meeting, which let me click over really quick. Their last meeting, 55-39. So this is really not that much different of a score here. That's just how I have it. I have a minus 13.5. Green Bay just on a tear. They want that 1 seed. They want to go back to the playoffs. They want to avenge what they did, what happened to them last year. They want to make that championship game. So I think it kind of goes with that. So with that, let's go take a look at our third of 5 previews as we just keep chugging along. All right, our final kind of early-ish kickoff here. We have a 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. The 9-2 Quad City Steamwheelers traveling southeast to take on the Jacksonville Sharks at 7-4. Quad City 5-1 on the road. Jacksonville 4-1 at home. Someone's getting their second loss regardless of what happens here. Is this game of the week? Now, there could be another game of the week tomorrow on Sunday. We'll figure that out, but maybe this is game of the week part 2, Electric Boogaloo. I'm not sure. This game gets played first, so I'm calling it. Game of the week here. Season leaders, let's take a look at those. Passing, rushing, receiving. Daquan Neal, 87-153, 1,072 yards, 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Tyler Huff, 38 of 53, 336 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Rushing leaders, Daquan Neal, 80 carries, 407 yards, 10 touchdowns. Tyler Huff, 55 carries, 258 yards, and 11 touchdowns. Receiving leaders, Jordan Vesey, 23 carries, 373 yards, and 11 touchdowns. And Jaden Stoshak, 33 catches, 427 yards, and 11 touchdowns. For your injury report, ignore Javon Solomon. That is a former Buffalo Bill player, and that should be CJ Parrish. That is a placeholder name that I put in there when I was making these templates and stuff like that going through here, and it was a Miami and Buffalo injury report kind of thing here. So Javon Solomon does not play for the Quad City Steamwheelers. That is CJ Parrish. I forgot to type his name, so just ignore that and pretend CJ Parrish was written right there. Our game odds over-under of 78.5, and Jacksonville is the underdog at home plus 2.5. So Quad City favored on the road minus 2.5 and minus 142 on the money line. Plus 120 if you want to pick Jacksonville as a home underdog and you want a little bit of extra cash picking the upset. We are at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. 6:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, and our series head-to-head 1-1 with Quad City winning the previous meeting all the way back in week 6, which seems like half a season ago because it kind of was, 54-35. So Quad City getting a little bit of revenge from last year when Jacksonville beat them in their only meeting in 2024. We'll see who breaks the series open and takes the 2-1 head-to-head advantage in this game. So let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters. Bet and prediction, we will move on. All right, let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first, as we always do. Daquan Neal, Seth Morgan are your quarterbacks, with Neal most likely getting the start. Tyler King, number 0, and Jared Ware for the running back position. We'll see if Tyler King actually suits up in this one or if it's more of Jared Ware. Wide receivers, Daquan Dudley, Tamarian Terry, Deion McShane, Kevon Rudd, Jordan Vesey. And on the offensive line, Joe Crowell, Javion Caldwell, who has just been, I don't know what team he hasn't been on at this point, Ivory Scott, and Tyrone Chambers rounding out that offensive line. Defensively, Kadir Shepard, David Cagle, Keyshawn Moore, and Chima Dunga. Linebackers being Bubba Arslanian and Brian Lee Jr. And in the secondary, Trey Smith, Chris Chukwuemeka, Nicholas Harris, Malik Duncan, and Cameron Harrell, with Kyle Kaplan rounding out the 25-man roster. Over to the Jacksonville side of things, Tyler Huff and Blaine Espinoza are your quarterbacks. Running backs, Larry McCammon and new signee DeMontre Tuggle. Vance Bennett, no number, so I don't think he's going to play, but he's still on the roster. And in the wide receiver spots, Karan Ashley, Jaden Stoshak, Marcus Rogers, and Khalil McLean. Again, no number, doubt he's going to play. Offensive line, Eric Harris, Bryson Broadway, Leon Brown, Dominic Jackson, and Kenny Furman. Defensively, Brandon Munoz, Kevon Bennett, and Gimonte Peck. So a new signee there. They have a lot of injuries on that defensive line, so they need some healthy bodies when it comes to that. Hayden Hatcher is your linebacker, and in the secondary, Jay Davis, Tyrese Ross, new signee Richie Coffey, not new signing, he's been with the team previously, but new signing is in this season. John Huggins, Malik Jones, and Lacaria Pleasant Johnson rounding it out. So quite a bit in the secondary for that. Kicker is Dylan Barnes, and that is your 25-man roster for Quad City, your 25-man roster for Jacksonville. Let's go take a look at our bet and our prediction as we move on with our previews. All right, bet and prediction time for this one. -2.5 for Quad City. I'm a homer. I'm going to pick them. Now, Jacksonville is pretty good, but I think Quad City's defense going up against that offense, Jacksonville's offense leaves a little bit to be desired, especially in the passing game. They can run the ball really well, but when it comes to passing, they are prone to some turnovers. And if Tyler Huff can get, if Quad City can bait Tyler Huff into throwing some picks, we know Cameron Harrell, Malik Duncan, Nicholas Harris, they can get after it, and Trey Smith as well. All of Chris Chukwuemeka can too. They can take the ball away. You get pressure up the middle with Bubba Arslanian and make his day uncomfortable. That's how we can take it. Now, on the flip side, that's not to shake a stick at Jacksonville. Their defense is pretty good too. They do have ball hawks in that secondary with Malik Jones, Jay Davis, what have you. But that's where Quad City can kind of venture out. They do run the ball pretty well, attacking that new defensive lineman. We'll see how it goes. Nothing really changes though, because the other two with Hayden Hatcher in the front four. You're used to saying front seven, but front four. If they can kind of run or stop the running game a little bit and force Daquan Neal to pass it, he's not the most accurate when it comes to it, but if he doesn't throw the ball a lot, he can, and with enough time, he can kind of carve you up a little bit. So that's where I see it. It could be in the trenches there a little bit to see how the offense and defensive lines go. I do like Jacksonville's offensive line, but Quad Cities has been just as good, if not better. So with that, I do have -2.5. My prediction for this one, 42-38. I do think Quad City takes this one. I am not surprised in the slightest if Jacksonville takes it. They are at home. They are very good at home, and there's just something about it that Jacksonville just plays really, really well at home. Those fans get after it. They are crazy. They are diehard. And this is a very tough game. Quad City has played Iowa multiple times. They've played Fisher multiple times. They have played kind of, dare I say, bottom of the barrel teams. Not all of them. Jacksonville has the same gripe too. The East is now that Massachusetts is kind of back up, but Fisher's in Iowa, what can you do? San Antonio at 3-8 or whatever. So Quad City has played a little bit of a lesser competition. I know Jacksonville has, Vegas and Arizona and stuff too. So there could be a little bit of discrepancy when it comes to that, but not shocked at all if Jacksonville wins this. Not shocked one bit. I think Quad City is a little bit better. I think they're going to pressure Tyler Huff. We'll see if Huff can get the ball out in time. We'll see how, the skill positions and everything go for Jacksonville. They only have the 3 wide receivers. We'll see how they do with the 2 running backs and things like that. So with that, -2.5. 42-38 in favor of the Steam Wheelers. Let's go take a look at our 4th of 5 previews. All right, so let's take a look at our 4th preview of the evening. We have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Where else but the Indoor Football League Network? The 1-9 Iowa Barnstormers taking on the 6-5 Vegas Nighthawks. What a game for Vegas to have this come at not the right time, but a pretty good time for them. Who knows if Iowa can pull the upset here, but we'll talk about it later. Season leaders for both teams: James Cahoon, 137 of 236, 1,477 yards, 28 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Jerome Johnson, your leading passer for Vegas, 77 of 130, 921 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Rushing leaders: James Cahoon, 19 carries for 45 yards. We'll move on. Jerome Johnson, 71 carries, 369 yards, 9 rushing touchdowns. Keon Williams, your leading receiver, 61 catches, 806 yards, and 15 touchdowns. Quentin Randolph, 42 catches, 593 yards, and 12 touchdowns through the air. Injury report: nothing to report for Iowa. For the Vegas side, with transactions getting updated and me being lazy, Adam Plant is taken off short-term injured reserve, so you see his name down there, just strike that from the record. And then below Mayan Ahanitu, just add Jamal Williams. We'll talk about that in the 25-man roster too, as I haven't updated that either. So Jamal Williams added to short-term injured reserve, Adam Plant taken off. Over to our game odds, 93.5 is our over-under, and Vegas at home, an almost 2-touchdown favorite, minus 13.5. Iowa plus 13.5 if you think they can cover the spread, plus 360 if you want to take them straight up as the underdog, one of the biggest upsets I think of the year, and minus 470 for Vegas if you want to bet a lot of money for a small return. There you have it if you think that they just win straight up. We are in Lee's Family Forum in Henderson, Nevada with an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, and our head-to-head, Vegas 1-0, and I had to look at this, and they've only played one time, and I remember it was Darius James Peterson getting hurt. I think he tore his ACL in this game. Week 2 of 2023, Vegas winning 57-44. If he didn't tear his ACL, I think he got hurt or something and maybe got injured the next game, but I remember this game, so I was like, man, Iowa's traveling to Vegas for this one, and then they haven't met since, so it's kind of insane. Now, I could be wrong on that, but from what I could gather, 0-1 in favor of Vegas. I thought they played one or two more times, but I guess I'm wrong here. So, week 2 of 2023, 57-44, Vegas takes the victory. Let's go take a look at our 25-man rosters, bet and prediction. We got one more preview to go after this one. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first. Grant Rohach and James Cahoon being your quarterbacks, James Cahoon being your starter. Wide receivers, since they don't use a running back, Joe Nowden, Kean Williams, Jalen Bracey, Caleb Hood, Raheem Harvey, and new signees, Travis J., which he has been here for a week or two, and Darian Conrad. So we'll see if any of those two suit up and play. Your offensive line, Devin Hayes, Tyler Castaneda, Terrence McClain, and Paul Fay. Defensively, Patrick Godbolt, Joshua Ellison, Tyler Tate, Jared Johnson. Your linebackers, Kadri Jackson and Ja'Cory Johns. And in the secondary for Iowa, Caleb Street, Gabe Amengatcher, Isaac Duffy, Jared Sod, and Cam Mitchell-Johnson. Gabriel Rui has been your kicker for, God, who knows how long for Iowa now, but he is still their kicker. Over to the Vegas side of things, Jerome Johnson and Jaden Delora are your quarterbacks. My gut tells me Jerome Johnson's probably going to get the start. If Delora does get the start, not shocked. They have been playing back and forth all season. We'll see. Running back is going to be Antonio Wimbush. Wide receivers include Mike Kerrigan, Quentin Randolph, CJ Wyndham, Jonathan Johnson, CJ Jefferson, and Phoenix Sproles. Offensive line, Desmond Bland, Zach Fortier, Kevin Toot, and Moses Mallory. And on the defensive side of things, Maurice Jackson, Claude Davis, and Lorenzo Hernandez being your defensive linemen. Now, adding Adam Plant to that as well, as I mentioned in the preview portion, he has added that defensive line spot. And then the linebackers, Jamal Williams, added a short-term injured reserve, so he is not there right now, but they have traded for Chizzy Umanakwe from Northern Arizona, so you add a little bit of depth to that linebacker spot. That's what Vegas labeled him as on their roster. Cameron Bright, also your linebacker. And in the secondary, Bryce Hampton, Trayvon Jones, James Caesar, Rome Weber, Darius Williams, and Elijah Blades. Kicker is Ben Derby. That is your 25-man roster for Iowa, your 25-man roster for Vegas. Let's go take a look at our bet and prediction, dive a little bit deeper. We'll move on. All right, bet and prediction for this one. We have under 93.5 for me. Now, caveat to this, I know both these teams can score points. I am a little worried about Vegas's offense, not that they can't score points. And this is a game where I fully believe this game could go over, but I'm picking the under just for the fact of if both teams just do not live up to that offensive kind of hype. We know Iowa can make fourth quarter comebacks, and we know that they can score garbage time touchdowns, and we know Vegas is very capable. Long touchdown passes, long touchdown runs. They can score in the blink of an eye too, but there are lulls in both of these teams where the offense just kind of go cold. And I'm kind of predicting that in this one. I'm not saying that these offenses will go cold, but 93.5 is a lot of points. And you look at last week, it took overtime for Vegas and Tucson, or not Vegas, Arizona and Tucson to get over that 90-point threshold. I don't think it's going to take overtime for this one because I don't think the game's going to get to overtime, but that's a lot of points. They're predicting a lot, and I think Vegas's defense is up to the task of stopping Iowa's air raid offense. Vegas will run the ball with Jerome Johnson if he does start, or Jaden Delora, he can kind of pick you apart. He is very accurate in the passing game. We'll see how that goes. You need both teams to score over 45 points in this one, or a certain combination of that. And I have this one, my prediction for this one, 49-38. It's a little closer than what I kind of expected, and that does allow Iowa to cover, but When you look at that, that's 87 points. You still have a touchdown kind of buffer there too. And that's where we have it. That's still 49 points that Vegas is scoring, 38 points that Iowa is scoring. And again, that still gives you roughly a couple field goals or a touchdown or so, 6 points to play with if Iowa wants to score another garbage time touchdown. Obviously, missed extra points, missed 2-point conversions, stuff like that don't really get included, deuces, stuff like that, when I kind of think of this stuff. So I do think that both these teams can score points, but I think Vegas can shut down that offense a little bit better than the other way around. So under 93.5 for this one. And again, part of that is Vegas gets shut out quite a bit in certain quarters, and sometimes their offense just doesn't live up to snuff. Now, caveat, again, to that is they're playing Iowa. Iowa gives up a lot of points, so we'll see how it goes. But this could be a very good opportunity, Vegas, to go 7-5 here, make their trek closer and closer to that second or first seed if things break their way, and maybe host a playoff game here later in the season. For Iowa, it's just a chance to play spoiler and a chance for them to earn their second win of the season, knock Vegas down to 500. And then, you go from there. But that's where I have it, under 93.5, 49-38. Let's go take a look at our final preview. All right, final preview for Saturday. We have an 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff on the Indoor Football League Network. Stream it as always. Northern Arizona taking their 1-10 record on the road to play the Tucson Sugar Skulls, who are 4-6, 2-3 at home. We'll see how this one goes. Tucson needs a game like this a win like this in order to really make a move towards those playoffs. Let's take a look at our season leaders as we see how Tucson or Northern Arizona can kind of pull the win out here. Ramon Atkins, 87 of 147, 851 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 picks. Jorge Reyna, 99 of 170, 1,114 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 picks. Atkins is your leading rusher, along with Reyna as well. 35 carries, 164 yards, and 8 touchdowns. And Jorge Reyna, 67 carries, 277 yards, and 5 touchdowns. On the receiving side of things, Deshaun Stoudemire, 50 catches, 575 yards, 6 touchdowns. And Larry Harrington, 39 catches, 412 yards, 14 touchdowns. Injury report for both sides. There are some amendments to this as the transactions page was reported later than how I exported all of these files. Devaya Gabor is taken off of short-term injured reserve, and added for Northern Arizona is Edward McClendon. So one defensive back going on, one defensive back coming off. For Tucson, just one addition here, Trey Henry. Just imagine putting him at the bottom when it comes to this one. But Trey Henry added to that one too for the short-term injured reserve. Other than that, nothing really changes for either side. Taking a look at the game odds here, we have an over-under of 82.5, and Tucson favored at home by a little less than a touchdown, minus 5.5. Northern Arizona, the underdog, plus 5.5, plus 170 if you want to bet them straight up on the money line, and minus 205 for Tucson if you want an adequate return, a little less than adequate return if you want to bet them money line. You got to bet a little extra money on that. 8:05 p.m. Central Time kickoff, as mentioned earlier. We are at the Tucson Convention Center, Tucson Arena in Tucson, Arizona. Just want to see how many times I can say Tucson right there. And our head-to-head 8-5 in favor of Northern Arizona, but Tucson getting the last laugh, 44-24 in week 5 of this season. So they will be meeting for another go-around in this one. Let's go take a look at our 25-man roster, bet and prediction, and we'll get out of here. All right, so let's take a look at the 25-man rosters as they pop up over my face, starting with the away side first. Caleb Lowe and Ramon Atkins, your quarterbacks. Atkins getting the start most likely, Caleb Lowe being your backup. Running backs Nolan Susel and Marvin Kinsey. We'll see who suits up, who plays. They both have played pretty well, all things considered. Wide receivers from Northern Arizona, Deshaun Stoudemire, Gary Brown. We'll see if this is the game where he finally suits up. If not, we still have Arlen Bruce, Marlon Cook, Kobe Smith, which Stoudemire and Smith, I believe, have been the stalwarts. They have started every game, played in every game for Northern Arizona this year on the wide receiver spot. Offensive line, Junior Atuatasi, Chris Simon, DJ Stuckey, and Ryan Atkins. And the defensive line, Darius Johnson, Karan Bolden, Devin Thomas, and Mason Newton. Chizie Umanakwe has been traded over to Vegas, so he is not on that defensive line. Linebackers, Travaris Farrell and Kalen Hicks. And in the secondary, Bakembe Carney, Kieran Page, Malik Saunier, Ignore Edward McClendon. We talked about him a second ago. It'll be Devaya Gabor on there. And then Simeon Burns, former Green Bay Blizzard. I think he played for Tucson at one point. He's been around. It might have been for Arizona too. He's been for a couple of teams in the Indoor Football League, but he's with Northern Arizona right now, so he adds a little bit of depth to that secondary. And kicker is Michael Hall. And then over to the Tucson side of things, Jorge Reyna, your quarterback, Larry Harrington, your backup quarterback, wide receiver, running back, whatever you want to call him, Devontae Sapp Lynch, Jameis Williams for the running backs. Wide receivers include Brian Smith, Jerome Buckner, Drew Dixon, and Alfonso Taylor. Your offensive line, they have a lot of offensive line now. Krikor Kostanian, Cody Bullig, Isaiah Foote, Q Baker, Dallas Raines, Niamonta Decor, and Darius James. Defensively, John McMullen, Dan Totley, Deshaun Mallory, and DeJamin Brooks. Again, remember, Trey Henry put on short-term injured reserve. Trinelius Tatum, and then as your linebacker, and then the secondary, Tariq Bracy, Brian Murray. Jalen Perkins has been released, so just ignore that name. He is not on there. Ahmad Lyons and Kendricks Gladney Jr. Your kicker is Kevin Macias. That is your 25-man roster for Northern Arizona. Your 25-man roster for Tucson. Now, let's go take a look at our bet and prediction. We move on. All right, bet and prediction for this one. It's going to come back to bite me, but over 82.5. Screw it. Let's get crazy with it. Let's score some points. I think Northern Arizona and Tucson can score some points here, but it's at Tucson, so the under is probably going to hit. And why? Well, because both teams are not that good at scoring, but they're also kind of good at scoring. And I base this literally on recency bias based on the 50 points that Tucson scored last week and the 53 points that Northern Arizona scored last week as well. So if both teams can do that, then we have an over. Not even. If you score 41 points and someone scores 42 points, there you have it, or any combination. But does it go that way? I'm not sure. I know Tucson's defense is pretty good, but with Trey Henry going on short-term injured reserve, they have 4 defensive backs. We'll see how that kind of goes. You do have a little bit of a secondary turnover in Northern Arizona as well with McClendon, but he wasn't the starter. Simeon Burns comes in. He is a veteran of the game, so he knows kind of what to do here. But can both these offenses go and score some points? That's where the worry comes from a little bit. Are you ready for this? 45-42. That is my prediction for this one. I think Northern Arizona pulls the upset. I do. But then you ask yourself, well, hey, Cody, if you're betting that, why not take the money line? Because I'm not confident. I'm pulling it for S's and G's, S's and giggles. And I want to see an upset. I kind of do. Like a lot of these games have gone for the favorite. I realize that I've kind of pulled for the favorite in a lot of my predictions and stuff. So let's get a little wacky with it. Tucson has been pulling some upsets. Maybe they deserve an upset pulled on them a little bit, but I do think it comes at the cost of going over. I think for Northern Arizona to win this game, they do need to go over in this one. They need to score some points. Ramon Atkins needs to run and be accurate in the passing. He needs to get the ball out. He needs to get it to Stoudemire. He needs to get it to Kobe Smith. He needs to get it to his running backs out in the flats. That offense needs to kind of hum. They were kind of doing that. And then add on top of that, if you get a Mason Newton thick 6, cool with that too. But overall, that's where we're at in the Northern Arizona side of things. That defense is a little stingy for Tucson. We'll see how that kind of goes, offense and defensive matchup. On the other side, I do think Tucson can score points too. Larry Harrington has been a beast as of late. We'll see how they kind of go with their running back position, whether they start Sapp Lynch, whether they go with Jameis Williams. Williams was a really good defensive back, so we'll see if they put him back there for another week or what they do with him. The wide receivers for Tucson can step up a little bit too, whether it's Alfonso Taylor, who has been kind of on a roller coaster, Dixon as well. You kind of have had Harrington be that centerpiece when it comes to that offense in the receiving game. So we'll see if any of the other wide receivers can kind of step up with that. So with that, let's go wrap everything up. Get out of here. And that is it for our Saturday preview for Week 14. Apologies for this getting out late. I know I don't really owe anyone an apology, but a lot of family time. Want to spend some time with the family, get this out a little bit later. You still have some time. If you want to watch it on 2x speed, cool, because you've already gotten to this point. Maybe you've already done that. But for the most part, like I said, it's just kind of been a little bit of a burnout. Some people have taken breaks. I've tried not to. But when it comes to this stuff, I want to get information out in a timely manner. It's just kind of the the people-pleasing nature in me. So I do appreciate whatever patience or whatever you guys have. So it does mean a lot for you guys to still come back and watch this, as this is 3 o'clock p.m. Central Time. We only have 3 hours till kickoff. So if you're watching this before kickoff, kudos to you, man. You're a diehard and you like the content I provide. So cool. Anyway, I'm going to take off here, guys. Got to edit all this stuff anyways and get it out so you can watch it in that timely manner. So with that being said, love and appreciate every single one of you. Till then, see ya.